Good morning, students. So this is class 12th physics, chapter number 8, lecture number 1. So today we'll be starting the new chapter number 8, whose name is electromagnetic waves. So in this lecture we'll be studying about electromagnetic waves and displacement current. Okay, so let us begin with the first topic of the chapter. So first of all, let us see what are electromagnetic waves. So the waves in which there are sinusoidal variations of electric and magnetic field vector at right angles to each other as well as to the direction of wave propagation is called electromagnetic wave. That is, in an electromagnetic wave, there are electric and magnetic fields which are vibrating perpendicularly to each other, and both of them are perpendicular to direction of wave propagation also. For example, look at this diagram. In this one is denoting the electric field vector. This orange one is denoting magnetic field vector. Okay, so now as you can see, electric field vector is in z direction and magnetic field vector is in x direction. That is, they are perpendicular to each other. Now let us suppose that this wave is propagating in y direction, that is, it is traveling in y direction. So this becomes a electromagnetic wave because E and B are perpendicular to each other as well as they are perpendicular to the direction of propagation, because direction of propagation is in y direction, E is in z and B is in x. So all the three are mutually perpendicular to each other. So such a wave is called electromagnetic wave. So a electromagnetic wave is generated when electric and magnetic field changes with time. So if you have electric and magnetic field and if they are changing with time, then electromagnetic waves are generated in that particular region. Okay, so now before studying more about electromagnetic waves, let us study one experiment done by Maxwell. Okay, so now in electromagnetic induction, you have studied that Faraday concluded that changing magnetic field can produce electric field. This you have already studied in electromagnetic induction. But now the question arises, is the reverse true? That is, can changing electric field produce magnetic field? Okay, so I am repeating it again. Electromagnetic induction, you have studied that changing magnetic field can produce electric field. Now the question is that can a changing electric field produce a magnetic field? That is the reverse is true? So the answer is yes. And it was concluded by Maxwell. He concluded that changing electric field can also produce magnetic field. Now how he concluded this? Basically, he did one experiment, and what he did, he find out the magnetic field at a point outside and inside a capacitor which was connected to time varying current. Okay, so now he used two methods to do this, and in both the two methods he used Ampere's law. But in those two methods, the value of magnetic field came to be different. So from that he concluded that Ampere's law is wrong, that is, it is not proper. There is something missing in Ampere's law. So he concluded that Ampere's law is only valid for conduction current, but there is one more current which is called displacement current. So from Maxwell concluded that there is also one term called displacement current, which we will be studying in the next topic only. Okay, so I am repeating this once again. What Maxwell did, he took a capacitor and he calculated magnetic field inside and outside the capacitor using two methods by Ampere's circuital law. But what he saw, that answer was coming to be different in both the cases. So he concluded that Ampere's circuital law is wrong. There is something missing in that. Okay, so and that missing term was termed as displacement current, which we will be studying. Okay, so now we can conclude that the magnetic field can be produced by current as well as by varying electric field. So now let us study about the term displacement current, which Maxwell talked about. So now let us suppose this is a capacitor and this is a battery, and it is connected, this capacitor is connected to this battery, and at some point of instant conduction current IC is flowing through the battery to the capacitor. Okay, so now if we consider Q to be the charge on the plate of capacitor and A be the plate area of the capacitor. Okay, so now you know the value of electric flux is EA, this you have already studied. And to calculate electric field between the plates of the capacitor, the formula is sigma by epsilon naught, and sigma is nothing but Q by A, so electric field is Q by A epsilon naught. Now if you put the value of E into first equation, so phi E will come to be Q by A epsilon naught into A, so A will cancel out, phi E will come to be Q by epsilon naught. Okay, now differentiating both the sides. So when you will differentiate phi E with respect to time, you will get d phi E by dt. And when you will differentiate it with time, you will get 1 upon epsilon naught, because that is constant, into dq by dt. So calculate dq by dt from here. It will come to be epsilon naught d phi E by dt. And now you know dq by dt is nothing but current. So this current, so we have now one more current which is called ID, that is displacement current, which has a value of epsilon naught d phi E by dt. So Maxwell concluded that this is that missing term in the Ampere's law. Okay, if we include this term in Ampere's law, then the answer comes to be same for the capacitor by using those two methods which I was talking about for the experiment of Maxwell. Okay, so now this ID is called displacement current. So now as you can see, displacement current is directly proportional to the change of magnetic flux with respect to time. So displacement current is that which comes into play in region in which electric field and electric flux is changing with time. So if you are charging a capacitor by a time varying current, then displacement current is a necessary term there. Okay, so from here we can conclude that Ampere's law is only valid when you have only conduction current. But if we have conduction and displacement current, both of them, then we'll be using Ampere's Maxwell law. That is this. Ampere's Maxwell law is B dot dl is mu naught IC plus mu naught epsilon naught d phi E by dt. Or you can write it as B dot dl is mu naught IC plus ID. So this ID is the missing term in Ampere's law, and this collectively it is called Ampere's Maxwell law. Okay, so one more thing in this, because see, between the plates either dielectric is there, so therefore between the plates conduction current cannot be there, because current cannot flow between the plates. So therefore displacement current will be present between the plates of capacitor. Okay, so you can say outside here the conduction current will be there, and between the plates displacement current will be there. Okay, suppose if we now connect DC supply, then there can be no displacement current because there will be no change in the electric flux. But if you connect AC supply, there can be displacement current also. So next is continuity of current. It states that total sum of current, that is conduction current plus displacement current, is continuous along any closed path, although individually they may not be constant. That is, the total current will remain continuous along any closed path. Okay, so now if at any place magnetic electric flux is 0, and as you know displacement current is epsilon naught d phi E by dt. If phi E is 0, that means displacement current will be 0. So if you consider the sum, that will only be equal to conduction current. Similarly, if the conduction current is 0, the sum will only come to be equal to displacement current. So they are continuous along any closed path, although individually they may not be constant. So this is your continuity of current. Okay, so to conclude, we can say that the time varying electric and magnetic field give rise to each other, and Maxwell concluded that the existence of electromagnetic waves is there in a region where electric field and magnetic field are changing with time. Okay, so now let us study more about electromagnetic waves. Okay, so let us study about the properties of electromagnetic waves. So the first property is that electromagnetic waves travels with the speed of light in vacuum. And as you know, the speed of light is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So if you calculate C by the formula under 1 upon under root mu naught upon epsilon naught, you know both the values. When you'll solve it, you will get 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So electromagnetic waves travels with the speed of light in vacuum. Second property is that electromagnetic waves are transverse in nature. So this is a very important property. By the transverse nature, we mean that electric field, magnetic field and the direction of wave propagation, all of three are mutually perpendicular to each other. Okay, so electromagnetic waves are concluded as transverse in nature because this condition is satisfied for them. Okay, third one is light is an electromagnetic wave and has dual nature, that is particle nature and wave nature. So you will be studying about dual nature of wave in your further chapters. So for here you can just remember that light is also electromagnetic wave and it has dual nature, that is a particle nature as well as wave nature. Okay, next is an accelerated charge emits electromagnetic waves. That is, if a charge is accelerating, then it will emit electromagnetic waves because for that accelerating charge, electric field and magnetic field will vary with time. And as you know, varying electric field and magnetic field with time produces electromagnetic waves. Next is electromagnetic waves do not require any medium for their propagation. Okay, so we can use the formulas for electromagnetic waves, that is E is equals to h nu and P is equals to h by lambda. This you will be studying in your further chapters also. Okay, so they do not require any medium for propagation. Now, if I suppose a wave is traveling in x direction, so how we can write electric field and magnetic field equations for an electromagnetic wave? Okay, so now in 11th question, you have studied an equation y is equals to r sine 2 pi by lambda into vt minus x. Okay, now as you know, omega is 2 pi nu and nu is nothing but c by lambda. Okay, so this will become 2 pi c by lambda. From here, calculate the value of 2 pi by lambda. That will come to be omega by c. And because electromagnetic waves travels with the speed of light, therefore v will nothing but it will be equal to c. Okay, so put these two values in this equation. So y is equals to r sine 2 pi by lambda is omega by c. So omega by c into v is c, ct minus x. So when you will multiply the c inside, so you will get y is equals to r sine omega into t minus x by c. So from the same equation, we can write down Ey is equals to E naught sine omega into t minus x by c and Bz to be B naught into sine omega t minus x by c. And that this means that the wave is traveling in x direction because electric field is in y direction, magnetic field is in z direction, and the traveling wave has the direction in x. So that means all the three are mutually perpendicular to each other. Spectrum. So electromagnetic spectrum is the orderly distribution of electromagnetic radiations according to their wavelength or frequency. Okay, so generally what happens in electromagnetic spectrum, the various radiations are numbered in the form of increasing wavelength and decreasing frequency. So let us study about them one by one. So first is radio waves. So radio waves have maximum wavelength and minimum frequency. That means the order that we'll be studying now will be in decreasing wavelength and increasing frequency. Okay, so we will be studying about the production of each wave and about two uses of each wave. Okay, so first is radio wave. Okay, so the radio waves are produced by the oscillating electronic circuits and they are used for communication purposes. Okay, so you have to learn the production and uses. It is directly asked sometimes in your exams. Okay, so next is microwaves. Microwaves are again produced by oscillating electronic circuits and they are used in ovens and radars. Okay, next is IR rays or infrared rays. They are produced by the vibration of atoms and molecules and they are used in TV remotes and night vision cameras. Okay. Next is visible light. Visible light is produced when electrons go from high state to lower state. Or you can say by the excitation of electrons. That is, if they go from high to lower states, then the visible light is produced. And they are, and as we can see, photosynthesis in plants. Okay. So that is the visible light there only. Next is UV rays. Again, UV rays are produced when electrons go from one state to another. Okay. And the uses of UV rays is in purification of water and ionization of gases. Next is X-rays, and X-rays are produced when a very high speed electron strikes a metal having high atomic number. That is, if you have a metal which has a very high atomic number, and when a very high speed electron strikes that metal, then X-rays are produced. And as you have listened, whenever we have some problem in our bones, in your any bone, we say we have to do the X-ray. Those, why we call that X-ray? Because for that purpose X-rays are used. So X-rays are used for fracture detection, and it obviously it is used in medical science. Okay. Okay, so the last one is gamma rays, and as it is last, so you can say it has minimum wavelength and maximum frequency, and they are produced during alpha and beta decay, which you will be studying in further chapters. Okay, and they are used for the detection of crack in pipelines. Okay, so this was all about chapter number 8. It is a very short chapter. Now you can do all the NCERT questions of this chapter. Okay, thank you.